Good afternoon, everyone. Apologies for that one, just a little problem with the sound there, getting that working today. Okay, so I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host now that you can hopefully hear me. So we're looking at fuel scale charges this afternoon. So quite a short webinar. Should only take around about 20 to 30 minutes today, maximum, I think. Just looking at the basics of scale charges, a little bit of background also, and a little bit of theory, and also how you post them and enter them into your account, and also how they impact on things like your VAT return. Today I'm joined by Jackie and also Abby, who will be on hand to answer any questions that you might have. So keep them coming. Now, speaking of questions, a little bit of housekeeping just before we do get started. So if you've joined sessions before, you'll know that you don't need a microphone, and if you got one, you'll just find that you're muted automatically. So you'll find you can't unmute yourself as well. So any questions, you just need to type them into the questions panel in the box in the bottom right-hand corner. So anything and everything, pop them in there, and we'll try our best to answer as many as we can during the session today. There is also an option to download a handout, so there's a copy of the slides that are available today. Two options. One is the standard sort of PDF format, which got all the coloured slides in that we're using today. The links will work, and there's also a print-friendly edition. So I know quite a few of you mentioned in the past that you like to print them out and make your own notes, etc. So you do have that, and it's where we stripped all the colour off, just so they print a bit quicker for you. So keep your questions coming. If you're not sure about something, then just let us know. Anyway, let's have a look at what we're covering in the session today. So a little bit of background as to what fuel scale charges are all about. We'll look at the options for dealing with VAT charged on fuel as well. So what options do you have as far as your business is concerned? We'll look at preparing your nominal codes. So making sure that you've got the right nominal code set up, which you should by default. The two that you do need will be there by default. We'll show you how to calculate your scale charge, which is really just a case of these days filling in a couple of questions or answering a few questions on HMRC's website, and it will give you the figures that you need. We're then going to look at the two options that you've got available to you for posting scale charges into Sage accounts. One is to do it manually, which everyone will be able to do that no matter what level of the software you're on. So it's just a case of entering a simple journal. The second option is to use the wizard. Now, the wizard is not available on the essentials level of the software. So you would then need to post it manually. And then just right at the end, we'll just explain a little bit more about the additional support. Right, someone just mentioned that the handouts are for different topics. We'll see if we can get that sorted. If not, what we will do, we do send an email out at the end, and that email will include links to Sage City, where we host the up-to-date handouts, and also copies of the Q&A, and also you'll be able to access a recording from there as well. So you will be able to pick that up later as well. So automated email will come out to you around about an hour after we finish. So a little bit of background to start with on scale charges. So quick quote there from HMRC's notice, which is available on their website, that covers motoring expenses. Scale charge is just a way of accounting for output tax on road fuel bought by a business for cars that is then put to private use. And that's part of the key there, private use. Now, definitions of what a company car is, business mileage, private use, that is all defined in the notice on HMRC's website. So that link will work as well if you do download a handout. Now, when it comes to dealing with VAT on fuel, you've got a number of options. The first is to reclaim all of the VAT on your business mileage. Now, what that would mean is that 100% of the fuel must be for business mileage, and you would just record your expenses as normal. So there's no scale charge involved in that. If the vehicle is used for business use and private use, then there are three options. First is the one that we're going to look at today. So you reclaim all of the VAT just normal, you enter your expenses as normal, and then you would pay the appropriate fuel scale charge. And it was introduced as a simple way of essentially almost like repaying some of the VAT, so posting that charge against your accounts because of the private use. The second option there is to reclaim only the VAT that relates to the fuel used for business mileage. Now, what that would mean, and again, this would be defined in the HMRC's notice on motoring expenses, you've got to retain detailed mileage records for that particular option. Whereas you don't need to record the mileage records for that first option where you're reclaiming all of the VAT and paying the appropriate fuel scale charge. So again, it's a much simpler way. There's a lot less admin involved if you're using that scale charge option. Scale charge isn't necessarily for everyone. So if you find you have a really low mileage, then you may find that the posting a scale charge isn't applicable to yourself. Might not be appropriate or might not be the best option. And the final option there is to reclaim no VAT whatsoever. So just to confirm there, as per the HMRC notice, if you use the scale charge, you can recover all of the VAT charged on road fuel without having to split the mileage between business and private use. And it's then just a case of posting this charge adjustment, which is what we're going to look at in today's session. Right, now as far as preparing your nominal ledger is concerned, your nominal codes, there are two that you will need, and these are both set up by default. I'll show you these in my software in just a moment. One is a balance sheet code, which is your sales tax control account by default 2200, and the other is 7350, which is your scale charges nominal code. One is a balance sheet code, one is a profit loss. Now, you don't necessarily need to use the scale charges one that I've got. So if you've created your own nominal codes, again, you will need to have an appropriate nominal code set up, but it doesn't necessarily have to be 7350. So both are included in your default nominal ledger. Let's just quickly share my screen, show you what we mean. So if you pop into nominal codes, so the first one I mentioned there was the sales tax control account, which by default is 2200. Which is, can't see it for looking, there it is there, the sales tax control account. And the other one that you will need is your scale charges account. So this one here as well. Just make sure you've got those two nominal codes set up. If you don't, it's just a case of making sure you've got two nominal codes that you're going to use prior to posting your scale charge. Right, now as far as calculating the scale charge is concerned, if I just go back to the slides, it used to be done via table only. Now you can still go down the table method. The tables are still published. Generally the tables are republished for the beginning of May of each year. So they do change from time to time, the scale charge values. The scale charge values as well will be normally documented between a monthly band, a quarterly and an annual charge. And it just really depends on how often you post the scale charge. So you just need to make sure that if you are looking it up on the table, that you're referring to the correct table for your VAT period. Now, the two things you will need to know to look up your scale charge. It's not a manual calculation, so you just need to look it up either on the table or via the wizard that I'm about to show you. So one is you will need to know the car's CO2 emissions, which is normally available from the VC5 or your vehicle registration certificate. And the other one is your VAT period. So how often do you run your VAT return? So do you run on a monthly, a quarterly, or an annual basis? And then armed with that information, it's just a case of looking up your scale charge. Now, the easiest option you have available is to use the online tool. So I'm just going to bring that up. Let me share that with you as well. So just make sure I share the right screen. So I've just used the link from that slide that I had there as well. So this just takes you across to the gov.uk site. And again, it mentions a little bit about how you can, how it works, what you will need. So again, it mentions the CO2 emissions available from your logbook, and obviously you will need to know the frequency of your VAT returns. So scrolling down, I'll just click Start Now. Choose the period. So as I mentioned, the scale charges will get updated each year on normally from the 1st of May and run to the following April. So choose your period. Just click Next. So we've got that selected. Let's just select that. So we'll go on to the next, step 2. What accounting period do you want to calculate it for? So I'm going to say quarterly. So do my VAT return each quarter. Next step, and then you need your car's CO2 emissions. So in my example, which was on the slide, I said it was 150. So we just select that, scroll down to the bottom. Obviously it's got the 2 that I've filled in so far. Click Next Step. And then it's going to tell me at the top, based on essentially those 3 questions that I've answered, it tells me my fuel scale charge for 2022, 2023 is £349 a quarter. Now at that point, that's when I would say, make a note of that value. So we'll write it down. So let me just make a note of that as well while I'm here, make sure I've got the right figures. But it also does give you, and if you are doing it manually, it'd be worth writing these down as well. So £290.83, which is essentially the net of the scale charge, and £58.17, which is the VAT element. So we've got gross 349, net of 290.83, and VAT of 58.17. So armed with that information, you can then proceed and process your scale charge within the software. Right, let's get back to the slides. Now I mentioned there were 2 options when it comes to posting your scale charge in your software. First of all, we're going to look at the manual option. So entering it manually into your accounts. Now there are a few different options before anyone queries about these. So I'm just going to show you the manual journal entry. You've got other options to maybe make that a little bit easier. You can sort of merge your journal in, and if you're importing adjustments, or you could, maybe if you're importing audit trail transactions, you could potentially set it up within recurring items. So if you're doing your fuel scale on a quarterly basis, you might set that up to post 4 times over the course of your financial year. You memorize and recall. Again, it can assist you, help you to post the journal that bit easier. But at the end of the day, it's still a manual journal that you are posting. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate. We've got an example using the figures that we just looked up there via the HMRC wizard, and that's exactly what we're going to post. Now, a couple of tips at this point when we're posting the journal, and I'll pick them up just as we're running through that. So just to sort of emphasize that fact as well. So we'll switch back to my screen. We'll get rid of that, and we're going to go into nominal codes, and we're going to go into journal entry. And I'll just clear it to get rid of any nominal codes that I'd selected. So journal-wise, you need to pop in a reference. So I'm just going to say road fuel scale charge, and we'll say it's Q4. Again, it is just a reference, so that's just a bit of text that you're popping in there. Now, the first tip I was going to give you is the posting date. Now, as long as the date falls within your VAT period, it doesn't matter what you choose. So some people get hung up, they come to the end of December and they think, right, I've posted the journal. I've posted that on the 30th. Actually, it's not the end of the month. It doesn't matter. As long as it falls within the relevant VAT period in which you need that journal to be picked up on, that would be fine. But I think probably out of habit, you will probably put that on the last day of your VAT period. So in my case, it would be the 31st of December, 2022. We then come down to the nominal code. Now, the first nominal code is going to be our scale charges nominal code, so 7350. I'm going to ignore the extra reference, the department, and in the details, I'm just going to put gross scale charge. Now this line goes in with a T9 tax code, and you will debit that nominal code with the gross value. So that first value that the wizard suggested, the 349. The next line of the journal is going to be to our sales tax control account. So by default, 2200. And we will post essentially the VAT element to this one. So I'll just type in VAT element. Actually, I'll just select that from my drop down because I've typed that before. Now this time, the VAT element, we want this transaction or this part of the journal to be picked up on the VAT return. So we want to change this one to T1 or whatever your standard rate nominal code would be. So T1 by default. At this time, we will credit that with the VAT element. So in our case, again from that wizard, it was 5817. And then the final line of the journal is again going to be to the sales tax, sorry, the scale charges nominal code again. So 7350. So we're just going to call it net charge. Again, this line of the journal should be T1. So we want this part of the journal to be picked up by the VAT return. The first element, the gross element, isn't picked up by the VAT return. Obviously, that's a T9. So we're ready to save that transaction. So remember, make sure your date's right, make sure it falls within that VAT period, and make sure you've got the correct tax code specified as well. It's very easy because it will default to T9. Very easy to look past that and just forget to change them. If you have made a mistake with your journal, remember you can always go into the transactions list and you can edit your journal these days. All I need to do is save that at that point, and that's it done. Now I've got no other transactions entered in my accounts at the moment. So if I go back into my nominal codes list, I'm just going to show you the impact that that's had on my nominal ledger. So the VAT element has posted to the sales tax control account. So essentially that's the charge. That's the value that is going to be adjusted or going to adjust my VAT return by, the 5817 in this example. If I scroll down to the scale charges account itself, too far, what we've got there is we've got this time a debit balance. So we're showing that expense. It's going to show normally in our overhead section of the profit and loss, again for the VAT element. Now, if you're quite okay with journals, you'll notice that when we posted the journal, we posted both the gross charge as a debit, the 349, and we also posted the net element to the scale charges nominal code as well. So the difference between the two is the VAT element. That's what we're left with. But there are two transactions posted to this nominal code. So that's the impact on my nominal ledger. If I go into the VAT return, I just calculate a VAT return. So I'll just do it for I'll do it for December. Well, let's do it for a quarter. Not that it makes any difference on this set of data, but we'll do it for a quarter. And I'll just calculate the VAT return. It tells me it's found the two transactions that I've entered. And again, you can see the adjustment should be declared in box 1. Now, a lot of people will look at that and think, well, why have you not reduced the figure in box 4? Essentially, you're reducing the expenses, the amount of VAT that you can recover, but actually the guidelines from HMRC are to declare the difference in box 1 and box 6. Again, you'll find that in the HMRC notice if you want to read through that. So that's how it impacts on the VAT return, and that would just obviously adjust the VAT accordingly. So it's going to increase your liability by the value of that fuel scale charge. So nice and easy to post that. Now, if I just go back, and I'm going to pop back to the slides. And the final bit I want to demonstrate to you is using the wizard. Now, the wizard, as I mentioned, It's not available to everyone, the wizard option, but we'll have a look at it in a moment. I've got it in mind so you can see it. So you'll find it on in the VAT ledger. You'll have a scale charges option. You can also access it in another way as well, and that's via the modules menu, going in down to wizards and then into scale charges. Launches the same thing, but the scale charges option isn't available if you're on the essentials level of the software, or if you're on one of the flat rate VAT schemes. Scale charges is something that's not applicable if you're on a flat rate scheme. Again, though, when we go through the wizard, it'll post exactly the same journal as I've just entered, although obviously it's a little bit quicker because it does the journal for you via the wizard, but it has the same impact. So let's just switch back to my screen. And what I'm going to start by doing is I'm going to wipe out those 3 transactions that I've just posted. So I'll quickly rebuild the data just to get rid of those 3 transactions. Just say I want to get rid of them. It's really quick in my case because obviously I've already got the 3 transactions entered. Right, so in transactions, you can see we're back to nothing being entered. So to access the scale charges wizard, we just go into VAT, and then the very first option. And a few years back, it used to be the order of these 2 icons used to be VAT return, then scale charges. And you'd often find that people would generate the VAT return, get that submitted, and they think, oh, I've posted my scale charges. So we've now got that scale charges icon first, just to make it more obvious that you do it before the VAT return. So if you do have it available to you, it makes it really easy to enter that scale charge. Just click the option, little wizard that you need to follow through. So it'll pick up your scale charges nominal code automatically. Obviously, if you've used something other than 7350, then just a case of substituting that nominal code. Pop in your date. So again, normally you'd probably put the last day of the VAT period. Pop in your reference. Again, it's just a text field, and same for the details as well. Now I'm then prompted as far as the value is concerned this time, what's your gross scale charge? So when I looked that up earlier on the wizard on HMRC's website, it was 349. So I don't need to break it down this time. It will do that for me when we come down to the tax code. So make sure you've still got your standard sort of tax code specified, so T1 in my case, and it's worked out the VAT and the net for me. So all I do is I click next. Again, it confirms the journal that's about to be posted, which is exactly what I posted manually just a few minutes ago. And then if I'm happy with that, click post. And again, that's it done. Post the transactions. It has the same impact on the nominal codes. Just scroll down a little bit. So you can see that 2220. Essentially, it's got the VAT element there. And if we scroll down to the 7,350 nominal code, you can see it's got the balance showing as a debit on there. And also, if you do run the VAT return again, just do it for the same period as earlier. When I calculate 2 transactions, and again, it impacts in exactly the same way. So it makes it nice and easy that. So if you do have the wizard available, so if you're on CH50 account standard or professional, and as long as you're not on one of the flat rate schemes, you'll have that scale charges option available to you. So nice and easy to use. They're not getting the debits and the credits mixed up or forgetting to change your tax code. Just makes it nice and simple. So that's scale charges in a nutshell. Again, if you have any questions, please pop them in there, and either Abby or Jackie will pick those up for you. Brings us to the end of the demo though. Now remember, you will get a copy of the recording. We'll email that link out to you later on this afternoon, and it will enable you to download the handouts as well. Apologies for I've maybe uploaded the wrong one. I thought I'd done them at the same time, but I've obviously I've uploaded the wrong one at some point. Just a mention of the upcoming webinars. So we've got this month, we've got Still got some credit control sessions to run. We'll be looking at Brexit tax codes next week. We're looking at credit control as well on the bad debt side. And also we'll be finishing the calendar year this year with the very last session or year end. The January timetable has been published as well now, so have a look at what's available, get yourself booked in for some of those sessions as well, some new topics added. At some point we'll be looking at version 29 throughout January. So again, we'll try and make that session available so you can book on as well. So if you are interested, watch out for your follow-up email. You'll get that in around about an hour's time and we'll have the links on that you need so that you can register for those sessions. Right, now it brings us to the end of the session, other than to pick up any sort of outstanding questions, which we don't have any for today's session. So if you've got any, quickly pop them in there just while I'm wrapping up. But let me thank you for your time for coming along. I hope you've enjoyed it and you found it useful, giving you a little bit of an insight into scale charges, how they work. There'll be a little survey pop up as you leave the session today. If you've got any feedback, ideas that you want to share with us, suggestions for maybe topics you'd like to see covered, anything of that nature, so pop it on that short survey. That'd be greatly appreciated. Follow-up email, as I mentioned, you will receive that later this afternoon, so you should get that within around about the next hour. And that will include links so you can watch the recording of today's session, you can download handouts, and any questions and answers that we've had today, you'll be able to pick those up as well. Any questions at this stage? Remember, if you do think of anything after you leave the session, do check out the information that's available in the online help. So you can access the help center. Nice and easy to do that from within your software. You've got the link on your navigation bar on the left, so it's in the upper left-hand corner. Just click on the help center, or if you're in a particular area of the software and you're not sure about something, just press F1, and again, it should bring up the help relating to whatever it is you're looking at. Beyond that, remember you've got access to our support team as well. Right, as there aren't any outstanding questions, then we'll end the session at that point. Many thanks for coming along. Take care, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you again.